like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap. Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. It's not funny. I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Gay. Frogs. Won't you fight for your life?
Info warrior Alex Jones has been right about a lot of things, frogs being perhaps the most famous. However, in an interview with RT on the recent gathering of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Jones, as seems usual, focuses on the symptoms of the power abuse in the West, but not on those that actually wield it, nor its causes. Globalists, the elites, and the Chi-Coms are Jones's focus, the latter being the group he believes controls Hollywood. While he is right that transnational business elites seek power at the expense of the liberties which are at the core of the U.S. national project, what he misses is the fact that the United States government has long been bought and sold and is becoming apparent to even the most casual of observers. But how do these globalists that Jones speaks on, who do despise former President Donald Trump, what could their perceptions be on the coming 2024 selection? And why might they prefer to place Trump back into the White House? And for what reasons? Hi everyone, just to let you know, I have some old favorites as well as new t-shirt designs on sale right now. Link to find them is in the description, and would like to thank you in advance, as it really does help the channel, as for years now, content like this has been put into an algorithmic black hole, as well as being demonetized. So thanks again, as well as I'm pretty sure you'll find something you will like. As a thought exercise, just imagine that the Russians or the Iranians, the North Koreans or the Chi-Coms, as Jones calls them, spent $100 million to unseat candidates in the 2024 primaries in the United States that hold stances that were contrary to their national interests. I would venture to guess it would be a scandal to say the very least. But that is exactly what AIPAC, or the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, is planning to do. And they're not hiding it, nor that in the last congressional cycle, more than 95% of AIPAC-backed candidates won their elections, a fact that they are proud to boast about. It has been an open secret for decades in Washington, but an absolute taboo to comment upon, and that is the massive amount of money that the Israel lobby spends during American election cycles and the power they have over candidates and overall American policy. It's pretty well known and clear that Washington is a wretched hive of scum and villainy, and its odious institutions and policymakers are bought and sold by lobbying groups like AIPAC, among others, and the influence that these lobbying groups have over policy. But in an interesting twist for the past few months, it's become clearer and clearer who is the tail that is wagging the American dog to more and more people as they look at U.S. foreign policy and vetoes given year after year after year by the United States in the Security Council at the United Nations. It can no longer be denied, and the taboo is evaporating. However, given the awakening within the American public and especially amongst Democratic voters, AIPAC is set to spend over $100 million this year to unseat the 7 so-called squad members during the Democratic primaries who are not sympathetic to the national interests of Israel. But it should be clear this doesn't mean that AIPAC doesn't play both sides of the political aisle. Moreover, and very troubling for AIPAC, is support for Israel within the United States is cratering along generational as well as political lines, with the only real staunch voting base supporting its aims being that of older Republicans. For his part, Joe Biden is getting serious blowback from young voters as well as those within his own party, and this, in my estimation, could set the stage for this year's presidential selection being handed over to Donald Trump again. But it will be a poisoned chalice. Let me explain.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me."
According to a February 2021 account in Time magazine, Joe Biden became president because of a, quote, well-funded cabal of powerful people who were fortifying the election by working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, steer media coverage, and control the flow of information, closed quote. And it's clear that that censorship hasn't ended, and since 2020 has been in absolute overdrive, with only globalist and milquetoast commentators who ride the fence so hard it begs for lube being allowed a platform. But this same cabal might see things differently this time around. Donald Trump is the only politician in the last 30 years with a large organic base of unconditional support. There is no politician in America today that someone would take a bullet for. There are no Ashley Babbitts for Joe Biden. After January 6th, it was clear what Trump supporters would be willing to do under his direct command. I think for the establishment and its long-term goals, the value of a politician that has a large organic base is far greater than a figure like Joe Biden, who is collectively understood by the public to be a puppet. No, a muppet with no agency. Presidents only hold the job for between 4 to 8 years and are then gone. In contrast, the bureaucracy in DC is entrenched. The establishment could be eyeing Trump as a performative strategic concession to Red America for its part in the last 8 years of subterfuge. But what does Trump have to offer? Well, perhaps 4 years of economic recovery, milquetoast border enforcement, and perhaps even a slight reduction in the real rabid institutional racism that is plaguing the country. This is what will be offered in exchange for Red America to turn a blind eye as the military is once again unleashed in the Middle East to help secure the safety of Israel from its existential threats, especially Iran. Like almost every politician in the United States, Trump is the perfect candidate for this. In fact, he himself has stated that he fought more for Israel than any other president. And in many circles, this has gained him the nickname Zion Dawn, as well as his movement being called MIGA, or Make Israel Great Again. And given that the war being prosecuted by Israel today is predicted to drag on for at least the next 2 years, this would make the timing of a Trump victory and his unconditional support for Israel very possible. 6 of the 7 countries that the neocons targeted in the mid-2000s have all been destroyed. Only Iran remains. A war with Iran in the current deteriorating cultural climate under Joe Biden, or another term of Joe Biden, would have no ground-level organic support, and it would guarantee the American public repudiating yet another military adventure in the Middle East. Conversely, a war with Iran under Donald Trump, after basic concessions to Red America have been provided, would have a much higher likelihood of success. But make no mistake, 4 years of temporarily shoring up the border, stabilizing the economy, and liberal tears will not be worth American involvement in another Middle East war on behalf of Israel. And this should be understood by not only Republican voters, but also by Democratic voters. Because America has reached its Boris Yeltsin moment with Joe Biden, a muppet that everyone knows has no agency and is not in control of anything. And it shows, as he is one of the most unpopular presidents of all time. Anyone who comes after him, even Donald Trump, will be seen as an improvement by at least 50% of the population. But given the current state of the United States, socially, economically, and politically, whoever forms the next administration in 2025 will inherit a poisoned chalice. At the beginning of 2020, in a video, I suggested that this decade would be one of chaos and struggle. But to be honest, I didn't quite predict it would be this bad. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this kind of material, please check to see that you're still subscribed, as YouTube has unsubscribed tens of thousands of people without their knowledge or consent. If you'd like to support this channel, it's very much appreciated, and ways of doing so are in the description below. That's it for now. I'll see you again in the next video. Thanks for being here, and goodbye.